The long jump, 60-meter hurdles, 800-meter run, pentathlon, and pole vault, where she's a shoo-in. That's because the 84-year-old literally won't have any competition in the pole vault. Flo says she likes the pole vault and hurdles the best. She grew up on a dairy farm in Vermont, and 25 years ago, she took up track. She set records at the age of 70, 75, and 80 when she did a 6-foot pole vault in an outdoor event. Flo turns 85 in June when she heads to the National Senior Games in New Mexico. That puts her in a new age group where she hopes to set a whole new bunch of world records.
Inspiring thing I've seen all day.
84 years old.
That's incredible.
Is absolutely incredible. You go, Flo. That's our time for now. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. News 3 at 5 starts right now.
And right now at 5, the man accused of killing Jamie Kloss's parents and kidnapping her pleads guilty. We'll have the latest on Jake Patterson's court hearing.
And the Education Secretary is proposing pulling federal funding for Special Olympics. How families of Special Olympic athletes are reacting.
From the Channel3.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
Thanks for staying with us at 5. The man accused of killing the parents of Jamie Kloss pleaded guilty in court today.
Jake Thomas Patterson could face life in prison for the 2 counts of intentional homicide, plus a maximum of 40 years for the kidnapping of Jamie Kloss. Jamie Perez joins us now with more from what went down in the courtroom this afternoon. Jamie?
So the state said that it will not file criminal charges for the crimes committed in Douglas County connected to the rise of the Barron County charges. The judge could impose both of the life sentences and the 40 years consecutively when Patterson is sentenced. Patterson's attorney said they discussed Patterson's options, including a right to a jury trial, but Patterson was adamant that this is what he wanted.
You understand that by pleading guilty, you give up your right to a trial?
Yes.
You understand that by pleading guilty, you give up your right to remain silent, and that silence could not be used against you at trial?
Yes.
You understand that by pleading guilty, you give up your right to testify and present evidence at trial?
Yes.
And Patterson did get emotional during his arraignment hearing as he pled guilty. The judge revoked Patterson's bond as well, and Patterson's sentencing is scheduled for Friday, May 24th at 1:30 p.m.
All right, Jamie, thank you for that report.
Thank you, Jamie. This just in from the Channel 3000 Alert Center. A Wisconsin appeals court has sided with Republicans and reinstated laws passed during a lame duck legislative session that weakens powers of the Democratic governor and attorney general. The 3rd District Court of Appeals today put on hold a ruling made last week, striking down the laws as unconstitutional. The appeals court decision means that while the legal fight continues, the lame duck laws will remain in place.
Let's get a look now at your first alert weather. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti is out on the weather patio on this breezy Wednesday.
It's a breezy, warm or mild day with temperatures up close to 60 degrees. Visible cloud track, you can see the clouds have started to thicken up a little bit, but as we take a look at Doppler track, other than a few rain and snow showers up near Lake Superior, things pretty quiet across the Midwest. And while we will see a chance for some showers by about late Friday afternoon into Saturday morning, I think even those chances of rain have been going down. Right now, this morning, temperatures started out above freezing here in Madison. We dropped to 34 degrees for our overnight low temperature. So far, we've hit 58 in Madison, but notice out to the west, many locations have been in the 60s, including 64 in Lone Rock, 63 in Camp Douglas, and 65 for the high temperature in Boscoville. Even Milwaukee along the Lake Michigan shoreline topped out at 60 degrees. Current temperatures are right near those high temperatures for the day, although again the clouds are moving in. So as we look at our day planner for tonight and tomorrow, look for mostly cloudy skies, just an outside chance of a shower overnight. Low temperatures will drop into the to the middle 40s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will still be mild. We'll see some mixed sun and clouds during the day. Our high temperature topping out at 56 degrees. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Here we go.
All right, Gary, thank you. Crews are responding to a report of a large fire outside of Governor Dodge State Park in Iowa County. The Iowa County Sheriff's Office said there are reports of flames and a large amount of smoke by the road in what the Sheriff's Office described as a large brush fire. Drivers are asked to avoid County Road Z between Davis and Griffiths Roads in Dodgeville.
Downsizing and restructuring could start to happen for the school district of Janesville.
The district's enrollment is at its lowest point point since 2004. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter is at our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with why the drop in enrollment could lead to some changes at local schools. Adam?
Well, Mark and Susan, each student enrolled at the school district of Janesville brings with them a certain amount of funding. And with enrollment on the decline, a lack of funding could lead to teachers being moved around or let go entirely. It's lunchtime at Adams Elementary in Janesville. And while many of these students are getting prepared for the upcoming spring break, district leaders are preparing for the years to come.
It is a concern, obviously.
Assistant Superintendent Scott Garner says he's seen the numbers. Enrollment dropping below 10,000 for the first time since '04, long before many of the district's students were even born.
And there are a lot of factors that play into attendance in the district. You've got private schools, you've got home schools, you've got other competing factors.
On Tuesday night, the district introduced a new staffing plan. They're hoping at the end of the year, teachers retire or move on. If not,
we have to staff accordingly, and sometimes that means people may be non-renewed based on enrollment.
Garner says it's too early to tell what the impacts might be right now. But for parents like Sarah Gibson, the news is still difficult to hear.
It is a big concern for us. We want our kids to have every opportunity to excel and do well and have a lot of different opportunities available to them, and those are starting to really go down.
Gibson has 2 children in the district, one in 5th grade and one in 6th. She said she's aware of the cuts the district has already made and is concerned about what the future could bring.
And cuts are already being made in bigger areas. Now you look at the smaller areas of an individual need, and that's really scary.
Garner says the district is doing everything it can to keep the changes to a minimum.
It's our responsibility to make sure that we retain staff, and so this is the opportunity we can provide that staff member. If they want to have that opportunity to work here, that's what we give them.
The district says one additional factor working against their total enrollment is the size of this year's graduating class. It's one of the largest in recent history, but they do say they expect the enrollment to increase over the next few years.
Adam Duxter live in Janesville. Adam, thank you.
A new initiative is aiming to support diverse entrepreneurship in Madison. The Equity Business Initiative will target resources to support Madison business owned and operated by people of color. The first step on the initiative will be a comprehensive review of the city's current business development programs to identify gaps and potential changes. The next step will be to launch the Equity Business Initiative Fund, where companies will receive coaching and grants to prepare them to launch their businesses. Mayor Paul Soglin says Luna's Grocery in the Allied neighborhood helped inspire the initiative.
We have to broaden it to include not just food, but all businesses. We have to broaden it in terms of how much money we're putting in, and we have to broaden it to include ownership of the property, not just rental.
The initiative also aims to help women, immigrant, and veteran business owners.
Governor Evers is proposing a way to have all electricity produced in the state be carbon-free by 2050.
He touted his plans to address conservation and water quality issues today at Monona Terrace, and Rose Schmidt is here to explain. Rose?
Yes, well, Governor Evers says after touring areas of the state affected by flooding, he's even more committed to his plans to combat conservation issues, which would create an Office of Sustainability and Clean Energy at the Department of Administration. He delivered that message today to hundreds of people at the Wisconsin Conservation Voters Lobby Day. The group included duck hunters and climate change activists, and more than 80 organizations were represented. In his state budget proposal, Evers declared 2019 as the year of clean drinking water and announced plans to borrow nearly $70 million over 2 years to combat water pollution and replace lead pipes.
The future of our state's land and water are at risk here. And unless we start changing the momentum here this year and at this point in time, we'll be failing the next generation.
Evers' budget plan would also add 5 scientists to the state's Department of Natural Resources to research water pollution and 5 more positions to regulate factory farms. Now, Evers' budget proposal faces opposition from Republican legislative leaders who have said that the plan spends more money than the state can afford. But the governor said today he is confident he will be able to reach an agreement with that state legislature.
All right, Rose Schmidt reporting. Thank you.
Families involved with Special Olympics are concerned after Education Secretary Betsy DeVos proposed pulling federal funding in her latest budget.
The move would cut $18 million in funding for Special Olympic events at schools. Chris Lewinberg tells us how supporters are reacting.
And they are just such positive and incredible people.
In Felicia Ellenberg's life, nothing brings her more happiness than seeing a smile on her cousin's face. And nothing does it just like the Special Olympics.
He's always telling me about the different events he's participated in. He calls me almost every day to tell me about them.
Which is why she's volunteered with the Special Olympics since she was 10. And now she runs a special needs book club, too.
In general, differently abled people are kind of separated. And so I think what Special Olympics does, especially through their unified events and other types of events, is make it more of a peer-to-peer relationship.
The idea of anybody not having the chances that Michael has had is devastating.
The participants themselves would be negatively impacted. They would have a lot less opportunity. The families would be negatively impacted because they lose a lot of that community and help and support system that they get through Special Olympics.
Special Olympics of Wisconsin says that the proposed budget would primarily impact its Unified Champion Schools program, which fosters an inclusive environment inside the nation's classrooms and schools. But that being said, they still have hope that they'll be able to work something out. Special Olympics of Wisconsin said in a statement to News 3 Now, as is the case each year after the president presents his budget to Congress, we engage in opportunities to educate lawmakers about why grant funding for our health and education programming is critical to protecting and increasing access to these services for people with intellectual disabilities. To Ellenberg, all that matters is that people like her cousin continue getting the support they need.
Special Olympics is an investment that not only benefits the people who are actively participating within Special Olympics, but it really benefits everybody in the community. And what you put into it, you get more so out of it.
I'm Chris Lewinberg, News 3 Now.
The proposed budget maintains the same level of funding for core special education programs outside of the Special Olympics. Well, a Green Bay Packers legend is retiring after 10 seasons in the NFL. Jordy Nelson spent 9 seasons with the Green Bay Packers before becoming a Oakland Raiders in his last season. In his 10 seasons, Nelson had over 8,500 yards, 72 touchdowns. In the 2010-11 season, Nelson helped the Packers win Super Bowl 45 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. In 2015, Nelson suffered a season-ending ACL tear during a preseason game. The following year, Nelson caught 14 touchdown passes and was named the NFL Comeback Player of the Year.
A Milwaukee Bucks star is coming to Stoughton. The Greek freak himself, Giannis Antetokounmpo, will be at Cunis Country Buick GMC of Stoughton very shortly for a free meet and greet. The event will be open to the public, and it's based on a first-come, first-served basis. All guests who make it to the meet and greet in that time frame will be able to get one autograph from Giannis. The meet and greet goes on until 7 o'clock tonight.
Quite
is
a
that
line.
the current line?
That is the
line.
line.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, for anxious baseball fans, tomorrow is opening day. The Milwaukee Brewers will take on the St. Louis Cardinals in tomorrow's home opener. Ulyss Shashin will be the starting pitcher for the Crew. Sorry about that. First pitch, 1:10. We'll have live reports from Miller Park during News 3 Now this morning, as well as our evening and afternoon newscasts.
Well, we want to highlight our new Time for Kids initiative, encouraging you, your family, and your friends, everyone, to just be you. As adults, we can be the best example of that for our children, and that means showing them that we're comfortable in our own skin and paying attention to what they're interested in. Dr. Kathleen Hipke is a child psychologist with SSM Health. She suggests something as simple as taking a moment to watch how your kids are playing or asking your teen what they're listening to or watching right now.
They get that we are interested in what comes from them, sort of what makes them tick, what are they thinking about these days, what's driving them, and all of that just communicates I'm interested in you as opposed to always putting you on my agenda.
Even when we're trying to help direct our kids and guide them down the right track, Dr. Hipke says we should take a moment and just hear from them. If you'd like to, if you work with a group of people, whether that's a team or a troop or a classroom, chances are you're already sharing these BU messages. We're looking for BU ambassadors who are committed to encouraging kids to be true to themselves and not be afraid to show it. We have a lot more information about the campaign on our Time for Kids page on our website, channel3000.com.
And there's more to come on News 3 Now at 5. Up next, Congress seeks answers on how Boeing 737 MAXs are approved as lawmakers question transportation officials. And here's a look at Wall Street. The Dow Industrials down. In fact, everybody's down all across the board. We'll be right back. Well, lawmakers on Capitol Hill questioned Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao and Acting FAA Administrator Dan Elwell about the approval process for all Boeing 737 MAX planes.
The crashes involving Boeing 737 MAX 8 jets earlier this month and back in October resulted in 346 deaths. Lawmakers questioned Elwell about the FAA's process to certify the safety of the 737 MAX.
How do we ensure that FAA can take over safety evaluation if issues are discovered during the testing and evaluation phase?
It is a active, constantly changing dynamic in a certification, and that's what happened during the certification of the MAX.
Today, Boeing unveiled what it called updates to the 737 MAX, including plans to install a previously optional warning system on the entire fleet at no additional cost to the airlines.
Let's get a look now at your first alert to weather. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti has your forecast. Gary?
Well, those winds really kicked in today and temperatures climbed into the upper 50s and lower 60s. We've had a fair amount of sunshine, but clouds are starting to thicken up. There's not a lot of moisture in those clouds. In fact, temperatures right now are in the upper 50s to the middle 60s through much of Wisconsin. The northern portions of the state a little bit cooler. Madison still at 58, but notice La Crosse, they're at 66 degrees. And on Doppler track, you can see very little in the way of precipitation precipitation. Just a few light rain and snow showers up near Lake Superior, and that's pretty much about it. As far as the computer models and what we're looking at for precipitation as we head toward the weekend, the very latest computer models push the heavier precipitation even farther to the south into parts of Illinois and just give us very little in the way of rain, maybe a tenth or 2/10 of an inch of rain from Madison southward north of Madison, just a few 1/100ths of an inch of precipitation. European computer model, pretty much the same story, even pushing the rain farther to the south. And all the computer models have taken out any accumulating snow. So at this point, while we could see a few flakes of snow mix in late Friday night into Saturday morning, should not amount to very much. Live view from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. They're seeing some breaks in the clouds right now. The WISC Skycam, a little more cloudy here, but it's a mid and high level cloudiness that kind of just filters out the sunshine. Right now, the live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison showing generally cloudy skies on the northern end of the UW campus. Low this morning, 34 degrees, so that was 5 degrees above average. Our high temperature so far, 58 degrees, 10 degrees above normal. And right now, we're at that high for the day of 58. Skies are mostly cloudy. Winds pretty brisk out of the south-southwest at 22 miles per hour, but the humidity is still pretty low at 42%. As we look at weather track and the surface weather map, there are a couple of cold fronts to our north and west, but they're not generating any precipitation. That's because the air, even though it's out of the south, is still pretty dry. The moisture is well to the south into parts of Texas and southern Arkansas and Louisiana, and by the time these fronts move on through, there won't be a lot of moisture associated with them. And maybe enough to touch off a stray shower tonight, but the better chances of rain, like I say, will come later on Friday, and even that will be more likely farther to the south. Temperatures are pretty mild through much of the Midwest. Hill City, Kansas right now at 80 degrees, 70s through much of Nebraska and Kansas, almost 70 degrees right now in Des Moines, so that's a sign spring's got to be around the corner. But as we take a look at the future track computer model, notice the wind shifting around to the northwest later on tonight. The highs will still be in the 50s for tomorrow with some sunshine mixing in, but as we head into tomorrow night and Friday, after a little chillier night, Friday the clouds move in. You can see the rain moving through, a little bit of light snow mixed in on the northern edge of that, but it should move out pretty quickly so that by Saturday morning, most of the precipitation will be over with, and it looks like we'll actually see some sunshine later in the day on Saturday. So our forecast for tonight calls for skies to be mostly cloudy, just a slight chance of a shower, but our low temperature will be at a mild 46 degrees. Winds will shift around to the northwest toward morning. Tomorrow, look for a high temperature of 56 degrees, so still mild, but we'll see variably cloudy skies with a mix of sun and clouds. As we look at future track, again, those temperatures staying pretty mild overnight. The clouds might be enough to generate a stray shower. Most areas will stay dry. Then tomorrow, even though the winds shift around to the north, high temperatures will still reach the middle 50s. Tomorrow night, with partly cloudy skies, those temperatures will drop into the lower 30s, and then thicker clouds will arrive on Friday, and you can see those showers later in the day, high temperatures in the lower 50s. Rainfall amounts, the very latest computer model actually shows a little heavier precipitation, maybe up to a half-inch down toward the Illinois state line, but the 7 to 10 day forecast calls for a little drop in temperatures for the weekend, but not as dramatic. We've actually brought those temperatures up a bit, then those highs getting up close to 60 by Wednesday of next week, some rain chances toward the end of next week. As we take a look at first alert traffic, right now the Beltline looking pretty good, at least according to the DOT camera at Park Street. Traffic moving pretty steadily in both directions. As far as the traffic is concerned right now, we're still seeing a few delays in the eastbound direction from around Park Street to near John Nolan Drive. Actually, that's just increased over to about West Broadway, but traffic's still moving pretty quickly, so not much in the way of delays. 18 minutes the travel time from University Avenue to the interstate on the eastbound Beltline, 15 minutes back in the westbound direction, and then heading out of Madison's 27 minutes down to Janesville on I-3990 from the Beltline, 18 minutes to Sauk City on US 12, and 18 minutes to Sun Prairie on East Washington Avenue, US 151. That is your News 3 Now First Alert Traffic.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Ahead on News 3 Now at 5, why an all-female spacewalk will not be happening this week. That's after a short break. Stay with us. Well, NASA is responding to criticism after announcing the first ever all-female spacewalk will not happen this week because only one appropriately sized spacesuit is ready.
The project will still take place, but with a male astronaut in the place of one female astronaut. Janet Shamlian explains.
NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Christina Cook might have to wait a bit longer to walk into the history books. The first all-female spacewalk will not go on as planned because of an issue with the size of the spacesuits on board the space station. McClain trained in a large suit on Earth, but on a spacewalk last week, she wore the medium. She told NASA it gave her more mobility, which is needed to replace the batteries. The problem, there's only one medium suit configured for a spacewalk, and Cook also wears that size. Although they have others in storage, it would take 12 hours to prepare another one.
It makes a lot more sense to let them continue to concentrate on visualizing their tasks, doing all those things to get ready, as opposed to trying so hard to make sure we stick to this same crew.
Astronaut Nick Hague will now join Cook on the 6.5-hour mission.
The most important thing to me is that there's, two crew members that are comfortable, that go out the hatch, complete the activities successfully, and make it safely back inside. So obviously that's my #1 priority.
Many criticize the change on social media, including Hillary Clinton, who tweeted, "Make another suit." NASA says a future spacewalk involving both women is still possible. Earlier this month, McClain talked about the importance of future generations seeing female astronauts taking lead roles.
It's important for a lot of people to look out and see someone that looks like them.
Fewer than a third of NASA's 38 astronauts are women. Cook will become the 14th American woman to walk in space out of more than 200 spacewalks total.
If I can be an inspiration to any child that wants to grow up and get into the business of space exploration, then I'm absolutely thrilled to do so.
It's united women all over the world, hasn't it? We'll have a final check of weather when we come back. I think spring may be here.
Getting close.
It's windy.
Remember
Making it
last
feel
year there was a big snowstorm in the middle of April. So
I think I've blocked that out.
Yeah, okay. So let's take a look at Doppler track. Not much in the way of precipitation out there. That's good news. As far as temperatures are concerned, upper 50s to lower 60s right now. A lot of 60s out to the west. Tomorrow, mid-50s, low 50s on Friday, some rain showers in the afternoon, and then that can mix with a few flakes of snow Friday night before ending on Saturday, and then the next chance of rain probably Thursday of next week.
Well, looks good. All right, thank you, Gary. Thanks for watching, everybody. The CBS Evening News is coming up next.